Malifaux bases are a little bit different from Games Workshop bases, and that has its pluses and minuses. In this video, I'm going to show you 3 ways to make the most out of your Malifaux bases so your minis look awesome. Firstly, let's talk about the differences between the bases. The first thing is size. So the diameter of Malifaux bases are either 30, 40, or 50 millimeters, and the diameter of the smaller Games Workshop bases are 25, 28, or 32 millimeters. So none of them match each other in terms of the diameter of the base, which is super important in Malifaux, so you definitely cannot use Games Workshop bases for your Malifaux models. In terms of the actual shape of the bases, the main difference is Malifaux bases basically have a sunken center. So the center of the base is about 1.5 millimeters lower than the rim of the base. So I think if you glue a Malifaux mini into its base, it's going to look a little bit odd because it's going to be slightly sunken into the base rather than on top of it. Another consequence of the sunken center of the base is it's very hard to fit magnets underneath the base for transport. And that's something I quite like to do, which is a little disappointing. Future Dave here, I've since managed to fit a 6mm by 1mm magnet underneath my 40mm bases, and those hold the mini pretty well. I also managed to fit a 5mm by 0.5mm magnet underneath my 30mm bases, and that barely holds it on, but it does hold it on. So you can actually fit thin magnets underneath these Malifaux bases. Let's get into 3 ways that we can make Malifaux bases awesome. So the first method is really the whole point of having this sunken center of the base, and that's to buy base toppers or base inserts. So what these are is they're essentially a disc that will fit into that sunken center of the base, and they'll have some pre-sculpted features on it to make a really cool looking base. So Weird has made some of these base inserts that they sell, and so have other companies like Custom Meeple, and they're pretty cool. So you can just basically buy these, glue them into your base, and you've already got a pre-sculpted base that looks really, really nice and fits the theme of Malifaux. So I think this is a pretty cool idea. It definitely helps with getting the basing done super quickly, and they look really thematic and nice. The only downside with this method is you have to actually buy these toppers or inserts. So method number 2, which is what I've personally done, is to fill in the sunken center of the base with some plasticard and milliput. So what I've done is I've taken a piece of 1.5mm plasticard and cut it out roughly in the shape of the center of the base. Then I'm just gluing that in with some plastic glue. Then in any of the gaps around the plasticard, I'm just taking some milliput and filling that in and smoothing it down. So now the base is a smooth, level surface. Now this method gives us essentially a blank slate on the base, and we can go anywhere from here. So we can use all the traditional basing methods. But there is cost involved in the milliput and the plasticard, and it's definitely not as quick as buying the inserts and doesn't give you that pre-done thematic base look. Now the third method I have for the bases is if you really want to get magnets under the bases for transport. So what you can do is you can go onto Amazon or eBay and actually find bases that are 30 or 40mm or 50mm diameter, but they're shaped like a Games Workshop base. Since they have that Games Workshop shape with no sunken center, there's plenty of space underneath them to fit magnets in. Now you have to be very careful to avoid the Games Workshop sizes, but you can actually find these bases from random third parties that are the shape of a Games Workshop base, but the diameters of Malifaux bases. Now again, you have to buy these bases, that costs a little bit, but this is another way you can base your Malifaux minis, especially if you rely on magnets for transporting them. Another cool idea for Malifaux bases is to make some wooden floorboard bases, which I'm going to show you how to do in the video linked here. And if you enjoyed this video, then please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more Malifaux hobby content. Cheers.